This is actually from the beginning of the novel, and the chapter title is Man in the Mirror. As dusk fell upon the city of fog, a man in a dark gray suit stood in a marble bathroom, regarded the shower-misted mirror, and murmured to a revenant self, "This bachelor is going out again." He was known to many in San Francisco as the Bachelor, and so shall he be named in this cocktail of sin and redemption, briskly shaken with an olive. Though not outlandishly handsome, he possessed a mercurial charm that worked deeply on certain women, sparking a good bit of trouble in this town, and in his own heart. As he tugged his harlequin tie into a dimpled silk nugget, the Bachelor hummed a ditty from this gold-rushed city's whirling birth. The miners came in 49, the whores in 51, and when they got together, they produced the native son. He checked the buttons on his sleeve, all in order. This bespoke suit was a uniform for a world finer than the one he actually inhabited, an imagined life that might yet embrace him. If this man, aging by the second, really examined his compulsive desires, he might acknowledge a fleeting fear of death and genetic irrelevance. But such introspection was a skill he didn't have. He wasn't wired that way. Instead, he contemplated the wet streaks in the misted mirror, conjuring a pair of voluptuous breasts and curving hips, and out of his beastly unconscious hurtled a primal theme for the evening. Scrumptious rumptious. Must find scrumptious rumptious to divert the mind, rumple this fine suit, and keep my dear old dry cleaners in business. For better or for worse, this old bachelor's going out again, he said. Turning away from the mirror, he pocketed his keys and left the apartment. The Bachelor nosed the battered Land Rover out of the Russian Hill garage just as evening, his favorite time of day, stealthily intoxicated the city, coaxing taboo instincts into bloom. Looking toward Alcatraz, island of pelicans, he imagined the beard-scratching wonder felt by explorers who hove into this hidden bay 2.5 centuries ago. Few would have envisioned a wicked Spanish pueblo being cross-fertilized by Yankee gold seekers, Jewish denim merchants, and Scandinavian shipping magnates, until the grassy hills sprouted Victorian mansions and Art Deco towers. Nor could they have foreseen this town being supercharged by venture capital dudes, internet nerds, and biotech geeks. And who would have guessed that one day cable cars would clatter up Nob Hill, a formerly wind-blown crest where coyotes howled around Indian campfires. He descended into North Beach, cruised down Broadway, then tacked right into the Barbary Coast, a neighborhood of Gold Rush era buildings crowned with elegant cornices. On Front Street, he slowed to glance at a tarnished brass plaque dedicated to one of his ancestors, Elihu Rakesbones Savage, captain of the Charlotte, a 3-masted clipper whose charred keel lay entombed in the mud beneath the street. After his crew decamped to the goldfields, the Bachelor's wily Yankee progenitor turned the abandoned ship into a floating tavern. There he marketed flagons of whiskey, emblazoned with grizzly bear and unicorn rampant, and a bold marketing slogan, savage among all others. Hoarding gold dust and nuggets, Captain Savage formed a small bank, and when the time was ripe, unscrupulously burned the floating ship tavern to the waterline, collecting the insurance. At the turn of the century, the captain's son, the Bachelor's own great-grandfather, sold the bank building to run for a seat in Sacramento and won 3 terms that were undistinguished except in family lore. The bank building now housed a glistening Starbucks. Thus, the Bachelor stewed were San Francisco's waterfront origins and his own ancestral history, drowned in a frothy surf of non-fat lattes. 2 more blocks and the Land Rover veered into Barbary Street, a cobblestone alley running between ancient brick buildings spared by the Great Fire of '06. He parked under a neon sign and handed the keys to the valet. Jack's was a 1930s style supper club with Corinthian columns rising, just looking for that number rising to a high vaulted ceiling. Throughout the 90s, it had been the Bachelor's temple, theater, and hunting preserve. It also provided an income. He was an investor. This evening's party benefited the San Francisco Zoological Society. In an attempt to reach out to the younger crowd, a guest had been lured with an invitation urging them to partying like an animal. Rarely had the Bachelor seen so many single women in one room, an exotic petting zoo of breasty nymphs clothed in animal prints ranging from zebra to leopard with kitty ears and whiskers painted on their cheeks. It was a feast of the city's females, from Pacific Heights heiresses and South Market fashionistas to Montgomery Street yuppies and gal Fridays on the make. Random drone males buzzed tentatively. A jazz quartet hummed away while the photographer snapped for the Nob Hill Gazette and the Chronicles Society column. The Bachelor and his partners hoped good press would renew Jax's image as a fun spot. Leaning on the bar, the Bachelor nodded to Hank, the old bartender in a crisp white jacket. "I'm desperately thirsty. Can you make me something called a dry martini cocktail?" "Gee, I don't know, sir," said Hank, planting his big mottled hands on the bar. He hunched his shoulders like a buzzard, wrinkling his brows if in deep thought. "Tell me the recipe and I'll give it a go." It was an oldish routine of theirs. 4 parts gin, 1 part vermouth, a splash of desire, a dash of youth, said the Bachelor. "I read about it somewhere." "Think I got it," said Hank. 1 minute, okay. While the Bachelor gently rattled the frost-blooming martini shaker, the Bachelor leaned on the marble bar and gazed at a vast mural of an older San Francisco painted in a style reminiscent of the WPA. Wind-blown sloops skated across the bay, an Asian-bound tanker slipped through the Golden Gate, while a Pan Am clipper emerged from the fog wreathing Telegraph Hill. Dragon dancers snaked through Chinatown, an old country Italian in a black beret strolled the sidewalks of North Beach. In this painted city of yore, there were no scab-faced crack addicts scuttling along graffitied walls before trepanning fellow junkies with a crowbar. No, this was the eternal San Francisco, the city a dreamer might pine for over a string of 21st century martinis. Here, little cable cars climbed halfway to the stars, and you could safely park your heart in a painted cradle of fog.